Hi, thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to be answering the question, is there an age limit to study in Canada? Now, there are some of you who have reached out to me to say, you know what, I feel that I am too old to get admission to study in Canada, or I am too old to have my Canada study visa approved. Some of you are even worried that by the time you come to study, even if you do get your visa approved, you might be too old to get permanent residence. If any of this is you, then I'm talking to you. Let's have a discussion. So the truth is, IRCC does not put an age limit for study in Canada. However, in reality, from the statistics, it is obvious that younger applicants do have an advantage when it comes to getting admissions in schools as well as getting their study visas approved. And the reason is because mature students make a lot of errors when they're choosing the programs to study and when they're applying for visas. And we're going to be talking about these errors and how you can avoid these errors if you're a mature student so that you can get admission and you can also get your study visa approved. So the first mistake that mature candidates make is that they are choosing the wrong program to study. Now, if you're a mature candidate, it is likely that you already have a diploma or a degree in your country before you're applying to Canada. But a lot of mature candidates are still applying to either a diploma when they already have a bachelor's, or even applying to a bachelor's when they already have a degree from their home country. So if you do that, the likelihood that you're going to get your study visa refused is really high. I'm not saying it's not possible, but then the onus will be more on you to prove to the visa officer why you're going for a degree that is either at the same level with what you've studied before or even at a lower level. So when you're choosing programs, it is advisable to choose a higher program. For example, if you've done a bachelor's before, it is better to go for a graduate certificate or a master's. Do not go for another bachelor's and try to justify it in your statement of purpose. The second error that mature candidates are making is study gaps. Now, there are some schools that have a maximum of 5 year study gaps for those that they give admission to. If you do not study the program page, you'll be applying to those schools and you would not qualify to get admission. And you might just be wondering why you are being rejected, not realizing that the study gap is your problem. So before you apply to any school, check the study requirements or the admission requirements to be sure that study gap is not a problem for you. And show the school that you're able to study in that program and that you meet the requirements. Now, another problem when it comes to study gaps is when you're trying to prove to the visa officer that you can meet the rigors of study in Canada. Studying in Canada is not easy. It is very demanding. And a visa officer might wonder how you can cope, especially if you were last in school maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. A visa officer might be worried that you won't be able to cope with the rigors of studies and that you're not a genuine student. So in your statement of purpose, on your letter of explanation, you need to be explaining to the visa officer how you plan to meet the rigors of studies and showing them that from your history, your career history, your professional history, you have the power, you have the determination, and you have what it takes to meet the rigors of study in Canada. One of the greatest worries of mature students when it comes to studying in Canada is that they are worried that they might not qualify for permanent residence based on their age. And I understand this worry because the Federal Skilled Worker Program, which is under the Express Entry, actually gives points for different criteria, including age. And once you're more than 35 years old, your points for age drops drastically every year until 45 when you start scoring 0 for age. So I understand. Even some provincial nominee programs give points for different criteria, including age. So you might be worried that because of your age, you might not get permanent residence. But I'm going to tell you a few things that you can do to alleviate this worry. Number one is that you have a plan and start your research as soon as possible. As soon as you have the plan to study in Canada or you land in Canada as a student, start doing research on the different provincial nominee programs or other permanent resident routes that are available for you in your province. many provinces have different permanent residence routes for international students or for certain types of occupations. You need to be researching and keeping notes of what you qualify for and what the requirements are, so that you know beforehand whether you meet those requirements or not. The second thing that I'd advise is that you must have a backup plan. Now, you might have done all your research, you might have all the information, and then it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, what are you going to do? Have a backup plan. Be ready to move to another province if that is what is required to do. Be ready to change your occupation if that is what is required to do. There are so many other things that you can do to become a permanent resident, and you're so lucky because the government of Canada is opening up more routes to permanent residents. And I'm telling you, if you do your research properly and you have a backup plan, you will find a permanent residence route that suits you, even though you might be a mature student. Please be aware that if you are a student, an international student in Canada, and your spouse is in Canada with an open work permit, your spouse can also qualify for permanent residence. It doesn't have to be you. I mean, you can be a dependent on your spouse's permanent residence application. So if your spouse has that 1 year of Canada work experience, and they can qualify for the Canada experience class or for any of the provincial nominee programs. I know a lot of students who have qualified as permanent residents, some of them while even still schooling, through their spouses who have used one of the permanent residence routes to become permanent residents. There are lots of mature students in Canada, 40 years and above, who have become permanent residents using the study route. So if this is something that is scaring you, you don't need to be scared anymore. You do have options. You're not going to be left alone. And that is some of the information that we provide for you right here. If you're worried about choosing a program that suits you, especially as a mature student, check out this video over here where we tell you some of the programs that you can apply to in Canada. If you're a mature student and you found this video really useful, I invite you to like it, share it, and also subscribe to our channel so that you'll be notified when we bring out new videos that are also suitable for you. We talk about different routes to Canada, and if you go to the description, you can also subscribe to my website as well as my newsletter. I'm so glad to have been able to be of help. And if you're a mature student, you can leave a comment if you have any other challenges or any of the thoughts that have been disturbing you about being a mature student, and I'm going to talk about it in another video. Thank you so much for staying with me. I wish you a lovely day, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.